Morning, Bao. Thank you so much for coming. This is a follow-up from when I had a lovely chat with you on your podcast. And I wondered if you would like to introduce yourself today to everybody that will be listening shortly.
Sure. Hi, Amandath. So I'm very grateful to be here, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation. I have no idea where it's gonna go, but that's the beauty of it, right? So
Absolutely.
uh, so I'm Bao. I'm French. I live in Germany. I am the mom of a toddler, who is amazing, but also like toddler age. A lot of troubles, a lot of um every day is different, a lot of challenges. And I'm a copywriter. So I like working with businesses that really have a sole purpose. Yeah. And the way I write copy is I write strategic and empathetic copy that really hopefully creates like a soul calling to the ideal clients of the businesses I'm working with.
Brilliant. Well, I know from just the way that you communicate on your podcast that communication is definitely your forte. You have a great ability to allow people to communicate. And I think that's a huge asset. So it must be one of those things that you are able to gain so much information from somebody so that you can create that copy. And I think everybody, I certainly in my experience of being on your podcast and also on from others, uh, they very much feel heard. And I think that must be a very key to being able to do your work and doing your job.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, so it has always been a quality of mine, and something that a lot of people have recognized, also privately. And this is why when I started this entrepreneurship journey, I first thought I would want to be a coach. And I started there actually. I started to be an emotion coach for empath. And but I still felt like, I don't know if you have had that, Amanda, but I just feel that I felt that I still hadn't learned enough. I mean, it's not that I hadn't learned enough, but I just felt that I wasn't mature enough, and that I wasn't um in this phase of life when I wanted um to give my knowledge or to give my wisdom. I felt that I was still discovering it. So I just thought, okay, I'm gonna park that on the side for a while. Let's see where it goes. But I still want to develop myself as a person, um and so I decided that instead of being a coach, I really wanted to write, and I really wanted to give copywriting a go. And it's always it's funny how, it's always been something that is so present in me and so important. Writing, I have had diaries since, I don't know, since I'm a child, except that I never saw it as um it was just there. I didn't even notice it. And I found actually journals and old diaries of mine that I don't remember writing it, and I don't remember how much time I put into that, but I was really consistent in it, and it was a huge part of my life. At the same time, it was so natural that I didn't notice that it was there.
Yeah.
So yeah, a year ago I made the conscious decision to really go there, and I'm quite happy with my decision, because um, writing is one of the things when um, once I'm in it, I it's really hard for me to get out of it, and it's really, I don't know, it's just I'm in the flow. It really challenges me, um intellectually, but also humanly. And yeah, it's just a real passion of mine.
Excellent. And I can see because your face is kind of lit up when you're talking about it, how much of a passion it is. How long, I just want to kind of go back a bit now.
Mhm.
just to, uh, what were you doing as you were growing up? What happened? How did you get to become to this place? Have you worked in other businesses before for other people? How did you get to setting up your own business?
Um, so my parents are refugees from Southeast Asia, and they have had a very tough life. They immigrated to France when they were teenagers. They got us very young, and so the whole focus was they want to get out of poverty and they want their children to get out of poverty. So for them, everything was around. It's super cliche, but it's true. It was really about education, and we need to have safe jobs. So they always it was a huge part of our education, and hard work was also a big value of theirs. So I grew up, yeah, being good at school, but also I I was not really given a choice. I needed to be an engineer and or a doctor or something similar, something safe and prestigious and all this. So this is what I became. And also I'm quite curious. So it was fine, but I don't think I'm made to be an employee. And I'm also not made for the corporate world. It was really masculine. It was really rational and logical. And I made a switch after 10 years working in an engineering field. I made a switch to marketing, and I thought it would solve all my problems because it's a lot of psychology involved, and it was also more mixed, but still the corporate setting and the fact that
Very
the
driven.
ultimate goal is still to make money for the stakeholders was really for me as an empath, like the purpose, a part of it was really missing. And when I was pregnant with my son, I realized that I was complaining. I remember I was complaining every day to my husband for 1 hour every day about how shitty my job was and my boss and this and that. And then I really thought, I don't want to be this mom. And so while I was pregnant, I decided that I would want to try to finally be an entrepreneur. I think that I also needed all this time to just have the shoulders and maturity to be like, this is what I want. I'm ready. And so I jumped into that. I had no plans. I just thought I'm going to do a training to be a coach and let's see where it leads me. And so it's been 2.5 years now, 2 years, almost 2 years. Yeah, 2 years that I'm in entrepreneurship. And I feel that I'm still at the beginning where I'm trying to find myself. I haven't really, I still don't have a fixed path. I'm still learning, discovering about myself, healing all the traumas that I need to be somehow successful. So yeah, that's where I am.
That's pretty impressive, though, because you're doing all of that with the child, and a lot of people would have parked all of that sort of thing until a later date. So to juggle the two, and as an empath, that experience must have been quite challenging.
Yeah, it still is. It still is. But I have to say, I don't know how. Um, so for sure, becoming a parent is really difficult. You have so much less time for yourself, for sleeping, for so much less energy. Um, you yeah, you have to be present for someone else. Also the way we want our family to be, my husband and I, we also really push ourselves to be a better version of ourselves. So there is a lot of trauma healing involved. So we don't pass those trauma to our children, to our child. I say children because I'm pregnant now. So, but yeah, it is complicated, but at the same time, I also feel that if I hadn't had my son, I wouldn't have had this moment when I thought, this is the time. This is the time when, because in the end, it also pushes me to be a better person and to want to be the better person, the better version of myself. I feel that if I hadn't been a mom, I hadn't become a mom, I would have still, hid behind those excuses. It was a great job. It was well paid. I could travel with it, also to France, where I'm from, and on the company expenses. And yeah, we had a lot of like advantages. It was a very comfortable life and comfortable situation. And so I think I would have still been in that phase when, well, I want to do it, but I'm not ready to really take the leap. So in a way, I mean, yeah, I feel that the catalyst of all this was actually my pregnancy with my son. So
Brilliant. And so, how are you managing? So, how long have you been in Germany? Do you speak German?
Yeah, I've been very long in Germany. It's been 16 years. 16 years.
Wow.
With a
So how
break.
many languages do you speak?
Three. French, English, German.
Wow, very impressive. So, which do you comes to you more easily?
Depends on what topic. It's really so for a very long time, German was um my work language, because this is the language I used to. I mean, it's also, I was working in a technical field, so there's very special words, and so even when I was for a time in Shanghai and working in English, sometimes I would have like German words coming up, um, and and everything regarding self-development and emotions and everything. It all happened in English because there are so much more materials in English. Like it's so much more present in the North American culture, and also British culture, than it is in Latin culture, like France, for example, or even the German culture. So everything that I have read has always been, or watched, has always been in English. So it's really the language that I use if I need to talk about feelings. And French, I don't know where to put French. It's my mother tongue. It's the one I used to speak to my child when he was a baby. Now he's much better. He's very good in German, and he cannot really speak in French. So I tend to speak more in German with him. But I don't really speak French anymore. Not on a very not on a regular basis. When I write in English. So um it's like part of like everything that has been associated to my French side, like the part of my personality that are very French, have also been less present, because I speak the language much less than I used to, because I don't hang out with French people. I don't know a lot of French people here anymore. And so it's like this part of me that is a little bit, I don't know. It's not there. It's there, but it's dormant. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And what do you speak to your parents in?
To my family in France, I still speak French, but we don't have a lot of like, we don't have deep conversations. We don't. So it's gonna be jokes on WhatsApp and a few news here and there, but it's not. There's a lot of vocabulary that I'm missing. I also became a mom in Germany, so I have more the German vocabulary for that. And many times I just talk to when I talk to my sisters about my pregnancies and everything, the words don't come up in French. So I speak this broken French at the moment. when I'm just like, and I describe things and they're going to give me the terms and I'm going to be like, oh yeah, right. That's the word. But yeah, but I do hope that my humor is still there. It's still, still French.
Still
That's,
French.
yeah.
How is it culturally then for you to be in Germany? Is it different? It must be very different to France. And
It's been such a topic. It's really different. I mean, every foreigner who has lived long enough in Germany will tell you it's really difficult, and especially because for a very long time I had this very international group of friends. So it was a lot of Spanish, Italian, and French people, and so I felt it was great to live in Munich, to live in Germany, until I got married, and then somehow all the groups dissolved, and I didn't keep in touch with the rest, the people who were there, but also there was COVID, and I became a mom and everything. So it's been a few years that I've been hanging out only with German people, and it's very different. They are very they it's it takes a long time for them to be friends. It's like it takes a long time to open up and to trust you. But once you're friends, it's like forever. They're very reliable people. They are the ones gonna be who are gonna help you move or whatever. But it's really I can feel close
mm,
very easily to someone and very fast, and it's not their pace.
mm,
And so it's been very difficult for me to just even connect with people. And sometimes, I talk. So the way I converse with people is that I'm going to share something about me. And usually it's going to be relatable. So people are just going to be like sharing too. They're going to be like, oh, right. And I had this experience. So, I don't really bombard people with questions. It's more me sharing and then resonate with someone else, and this person shares too. And especially because if I share first, then people feel comfortable, and then they just feel heard because or seen, because they're just like, oh yeah, I had a similar experience, and then they can share their experience. And here it doesn't work. And I feel that, right before I moved back to Munich, it was in 2015, from 2015 to 2018, I was in Shanghai. And there was also very international, and had a lot of American friends and British friends. And everyone was telling me that I was very open. It was really easy to talk with me. I really felt that I was socially, like super good, like super skilled. And here it really feels like it's been years and years that I'm here, but it feels like there's still a barrier. It feels like I haven't cracked the code. I don't know how it works. I'm
mm,
always, I don't, I mean, I don't feel the cues. I don't feel like, I, I, I don't know if, they're so private. Sometimes like people are afraid to tell you where they live, or they're afraid to tell you too much. Like once I had a colleague for 2 years, we were sitting next to each other, and I didn't know if he was gay or not, which is not something that I need to know. But I knew he had a partner, but he never mentioned the gender. So I was like, maybe it's a guy and he just didn't want to, maybe he's gay and he just don't want to say it. And actually it was a woman, but he never, but he was so private that he wouldn't even reveal the gender of, I mean, I don't know, I have so many examples. And then, so it's really difficult for me because I love feeling close to people. I love getting to know people. I love to, understand them and to understand, that thinking process and the decision process and how they become, what brought them to become the person that they are today. And this is a conversation that I usually have with people, even strangers, but it doesn't really work here. And so it has made me feel very, very isolated.
yeah.
And And yeah, it's still a struggle, but I try to appreciate. I'm trying more and more to appreciate what I have with them. So with the few interactions that I have with German people, I try to appreciate how, they are not very gossipy. So there is not a lot of drama. Also, which is also, it's very straightforward, which can also feel good and safe. And so, yeah.
And but maybe not excited, a joyful, connected, really close, and that sort of wow that you get from real deep connection with people.
Yeah, absolutely. Like lately, we had a very difficult phase with our son. He's 3 year old, and he was going through this phase when he needed to assert himself. But at the same time, he was having those huge emotions, and we're just in the middle of moving from one city to the other. And it was a really tough time for him. And he was screaming a lot and was triggering me because I also had my share of a trauma through my family and all this. So it was triggering. So I was not reacting the best way. I was also sometimes crying back at him or whatever, and it was hurting me to be that person. And so it was very difficult to navigate. And then he was also saying harsh stuff like, "I don't want you as a mom. I hate you," or whatever. And I just meant, every time I was mentioning that to German people, they wouldn't, and I would not even share like the story, like the things that were happening or that he was saying. I would just say like, oh, like this toddler phase. And no one was agreeing, like none of the parents I mentioned that to, they were no one said anything, like. And it felt like every time it felt like I was the only one having those phases. And I knew that I was not, because I follow like parenting accounts on Instagram. I also bought a few courses when it's real thing that is happening. It's really a difficult phase for your child, but also for you as a parent. And so I know that it exists, but the fact that no one ever said anything about that, it always feels like you're the only one going through this. And especially also, but not just parenting, also feelings and stuff. I remember when I wanted to set up my my business as a coach, and I wanted to talk about emotions, and I wanted to create a safe space for people to talk about emotions. I remember thinking, but actually no one has any problem with that, just because no one ever talked about it around me. Right. Until I went online and I decided to network, to go in communities and also meet other people, and everyone was just like, we are so much in need of something like this. And they were like, I think it's a really important job that you do, and it's really needed and all this. But until I met those people online, I really thought I might not have a market. I might not have anyone to. Yeah. And so, yeah, it does feel a little bit like they never have any issues and they never have any problems. And when I talked about it with my husband, he always have a reason why. He always tells me, yeah, but this woman, I'm sure she doesn't think about it like that. Yeah, but this woman, she tried to be the perfect mom. And it's like every time he has an excuse for someone. And I'm just like, yeah, but statistically, it's just the whole population who never talks about those things. And he's like, well, that's how it is. So yeah.
Because he's German himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fascinating, because I think it also it's another development for you, isn't it? It's a teaching, isn't it? There is definitely something to learn within that, about how you're not getting your needs met emotionally with that. You're not getting the natural that we all need, that feeding. And therefore, maybe that is something internally about within you about needing that to be met. And I always think, I wonder if, no matter if it is a cultural thing of that country, you will always find people who go against the culture.
Right.
I in particular actually met somebody the other day who's a client of mine to come for a massage, who's living in England. She said, I can't, she is German. And she said, I can't live in Germany anymore. I'm not that narrow-minded. I don't live in a box sort of thing. But it was interesting because she then, when I said to her, oh, normally, because she was pregnant, I said, normally people when they're pregnant go for, oh no, sorry, not pregnant. She had her baby. She had a new baby and she was nursing the baby. And I said, normally a new mother gets on the table and they're fast asleep in seconds. And her response was, well, I couldn't go to sleep in a place where I've only been for the first time. So I was thinking, well, some of that German aspect probably hasn't left you yet. So it was quite interesting to see, but she was rebelling against that aspect of it. And certainly I know another person within the networking group who's German and also is kind of, not wanting to conform to that sort of aspect too. So it is quite challenging, but also it is fascinating. But also I look at it from your perspective, there's a really good learning in language as well. And again, this is all really great for the kind of work that you do, to understand the way that people communicate and how they are. It's really powerful, isn't it, to know your market. And so, well, how are you going to work with people in Germany? How are you going to work with people in France? How are you going to work with that? Is far greater knowledge than the average person would have, because the norm is that people tend to live in the same country in which they were born. And so I think you have a expansive knowledge already from having those different cultural viewpoints. So
I feel that the learning that I'm having here is to let go of expectations, is to also be grateful for what I have and for who those people are. And it's a great learning. Also knowing that the reaction that they will have towards who I am is not, it's not the one that I'm used to. It's not the one that works, but it's a great way to also challenge myself. And in that way also, I tend to, I don't know if it's this because I'm a highly sensitive or whatever, but I tend to observe if I'm new to a group or a community or society, or I tend to observe for a while, and then I jump in and then I find my place and all this. But I feel that I've been observing for a very long time because I still don't understand like the culture completely. And so I forgot what I wanted to say. I feel that the challenge for me is also let go a little bit of this. I mean, a lot of this people pleasing, and to actually be much more confident and assertive in the way that I am. Because when I observe people and groups, and I tend to, see, like, try to see the dynamics and how people interact with each other. So what is the language that they use? What is the way they joke with each other, and where do I fit? And except that here, I don't feel that there are really rules for anything. And I feel that for me to survive as a person, to find my balance emotionally and mentally, I do need to actually care less about conforming. I need to care less about navigating the rules, but being more confident in the person that I am, and be confident that, I don't know, my Frenchness, or the way I'm quite, I mean, a little bit more international, and the way I'm different, talking about things that people may not think about or may not be interested in or whatever. It's just going to be my way, and it's just going to be me. And that's it. And maybe it rings a bell, and maybe it does not. But I feel that it really pushes me to just be myself, which is difficult because
Very difficult. We all like to
yeah,
conform, really, don't we? We are pretty much all conformists. We like to fit in, and be a part of a society.
yeah.
Because community is so important it's important for our health, never mind anything else. And yeah, so yeah, it must be challenging. But I wonder, once you have come to that full acceptance, whether then you will actually leave Germany and go live somewhere else.
Yeah. I don't know. um I have been dreaming of living in Germany for a while already, but it's not gonna happen the next decade. So but I don't know. I feel that me becoming a mom, I mean, it had really, I left France because I didn't feel that I belonged there. And um I never looked back. I was happy, being a foreigner, living in a, living abroad. And when I became a mom, I realized that I am very French, and I am really, I don't know, I feel this need to go back to my roots, even if my parents come from another country and I grew up with two cultures. I still feel very, very much French, and I feel that, yeah, it's where eventually I will end up. But you never know. You never know, because I'm never very, I don't know. I cannot stay very long in a place. I cannot, I need change regularly. Every 5 to 8 years, I need a big change. Um, so I dream of being in France and having my house in France, and I feel that I would be happy there, but probably I'm gonna go back and be happy for 5 years and then be like, okay, what
I
is
think
next
I think
challenge?
it is all about, isn't it, learning to be happy anywhere.
Right.
Actually, if to put an extreme on it, but um there was a wonderful woman who left Auschwitz, was saying that actually that not that she was happy in Auschwitz, but she learned how to be in her own existence, in and to survive, and not to be affected by her exterior, which was horrific. And how somebody, I mean, it's how anyone could come out and say that and survive it, and to not be permanently affected is beyond me. But what a great lesson, I suppose, is to have people that can, and that's what we have to aspire to, I suppose, really. So my question to everybody is a question that we get asked every day, and we don't really normally respond in the way that is truly genuine. We just answer the same way, almost identically, no matter how we are. And so I give people the opportunity in this moment to be fully authentic, to be fully present with where you are right now. And so my question is, how are you? How are you feeling?
Um, right now, I feel positive. I feel optimistic. I just went out of this huge phase of pregnancy when I I was sick all the time and I couldn't eat a lot, which also affected my mood, plus the hormones and everything. So I'm out of it. I have a little bit of energy. So I feel myself again, and I feel happy being myself. But I do feel that, I don't know, if you had asked me this a month ago, I think I think I would just have starting to cry in front of you, because I don't know, it's so weird to be a mom, and to be a parent, because I feel that it's such it's a it's an experience shared by so many, and 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 everything, like a lot of people around me are also parents, and at the same time you feel so lonely with the burden of motherhood, parenthood, and it feels like it's really tough. It's really tough. And I feel that the most difficult moment that I had the last weeks were, as I mentioned before, when my son we had just moved, and so there were still a lot of boxes everywhere. My husband was working very long hours, and I was alone with my son, and being pregnant, and really physically reduced, I want to say. And I still had to take care of my son, and he was really, really, needy, clingy, and screaming all the time. And I felt triggered, and there was sometimes when I had this. Okay, there was time when I would scream back, and I felt immediately like bad about it, but I could not prevent myself. And there was other times when, even if he was screaming out of sadness and he was not showing any anger or something, he was not provoking me or anything, but he was just sad. I remember, like, I could not switch from being angry to being compassionate. And it's like as if I would just, observe myself from an external point of view and be like, what the heck are you doing? But I could not. I had that, like, this big wall of, I cannot be compassionate right now. I cannot just go to him and hug him. And I felt so sad and so angry at the same time. And it was a very difficult time for me. And I remember there was once or twice when in the evening, I just cried. I just went to bed and I cried for hours. And I was just really wondering, what the heck is that? Like, what is it, And I knew it was linked to my childhood. And to a certain point, I really had a pick when I was really tough on him. Same way. So it was not physical or anything, but I was still very cold when he needed me. And I felt extremely bad on that day. And then I don't know. In bed, I was just like, I don't know. I started to talk to my inner child, and I just felt like it was so unfair. And it just felt like it felt unfair, because it felt like, why do I need to be here for him, my son, when no one has been here for me? And I had like all those memories of me crying alone as a child, soothing myself as a child. No one was there. No one ever hugged me. No one ever said, a nice word to me. No one ever tried to reassure me or to, cheer me up or anything. I remember once I was so sad, I hid in the closet and I fell asleep there, because I was just like, I'm alone. And I also remember a few times when my brother, who is younger than me, every time he would had a fight with my mom, they would have a moment of repair, when she would had him on her lap and telling him nice things like, oh, I'm sorry, I was angry, but actually I still love you or whatever. And I remember listening to that from my room. So there was no, like, I could not see them, but I could hear them, and thinking to myself, why
Why not
did
you?
that never happen to me? And so I feel that there was this whole thing around, I had to do it on my own, and I felt that it was very unfair. So and it was a big wake-up call, because then I realized I do need to heal that. But it was tough, because like in those phases, it's always super easy to react well to a toddler or a child screaming if it's just like once every few days, once every 10 days or whatever. But if your child is like every hour screaming at you, and from the moment he wakes up, and
Yeah.
you already know before he's going to wake up, you already know he's going to scream at you, he's going to think that everything is shit, you will have to convince him, or to go to daycare, to dress up, and everything's going to be a fight. It's really tough. It was really tough on me. And so it was really those moments when it felt lonely. It felt, if I don't know, I think it was the most vulnerable moment of my life
Mm.
by far, when it was like I needed to be there emotionally for someone, and at the same time that I needed to be there for myself. And I don't know how it went better. I don't know. I think I talked a lot with my husband about that. I journaled a lot. I feel that I also accepted that I needed not necessarily help, but I needed to feel supported. And I know that I have a lot of women around me who have this motherly energy. You're one of them.
Oh, thank you.
And so I just accepted that maybe I needed those, like energies and vibes to support me and to feel supported by them. And so, and I also decided that I needed to love myself, which
Mm.
is,
Huge challenge.
yeah. And it's always like, how do
Yeah.
you, yeah. And it's just accepting help, accepting
Mm.
people kindness, um, doing things for yourself. Um, and I feel that it's a journey. I feel that right now the big part of it is gonna be in the next phase, in a few months, in a few years, I don't know. And then it's gonna be other challenges. We have another child coming, so it's gonna be also another challenge. But
Mm.
the good thing about it is that my husband and I, we're on the same page. He also wants to improve as a person. He also he's less into all those like feelings stuff, but he still understands that he had some trauma healing to do, and he's open to look into that, and he's open to also learn um, how to talk to a toddler and how to stay calm and all this. And he's open to my remarks. Sometimes he tells me I don't know what to do, and I'm just like, I also don't know what to do, so let's watch a course together, so because I don't have the answer here. And so at least I know it's not just me
Mm.
being alone in that, in
I
that
think
part.
everybody is the same. I think it's universal. I mean, I'm not a parent, but I became a step parent 2 years ago, and was thrown in right at the deep end as a teenager, who had lost her mother. And I've been through similar experiences where there have been moments where I felt exactly the same as you, where I felt like, hang on a second, I didn't get that when I was a child. Why are you
Mm,
getting this? And that's
mm,
like, how ridiculous. I'm an adult. Why am I
mm,
saying this? And berating yourself constantly for not achieving a standard or a mark that you think is acceptable. And it is about giving yourself compassion. I think with parenting, you have to constantly give yourself the compassion before you can give it out to them, because you can't work from an empty cup. And yeah, it can be really tough to say, oh God, I did that wrong. I did, I'm going to scar them for life, in
Yeah.
the back of your mind, but you will scar them for life in a positive and a good way. That is parenting. There is no child that will say it is all 100% perfect or 100% wrong. There are good and bad even in the worst parenting, they're still good. So yeah, I think we just need to find balance in that internally, excuse me, to really be compassionate with ourselves, because women in particular, I think we kind of we don't we're quick to judge ourselves perhaps in that regard, and because we should be, we are the maternal instinct that should come naturally, um and there are moments where we're all human, and we can't suppress our own needs any longer. We've done it for years and years and years, and actually it's never really worked well to do that either, because your child doesn't think, oh, I'm so pleased that my parent didn't do what they were passionate about doing. I think it's important to do both. So I wondered now, before we wrap up, if there was anything else that you would like to share.
I'm just I'm very admirative about the way the intention you have with those interviews, because I feel that it's something that we have spoken before privately, and probably in the first meeting we had together, but I feel that, I don't know if it's just because I live here or if it's everyone, probably it's a lot of people, but it would benefit us so much collectively if we could just talk about those things. And it doesn't have to be like I don't know the expression, but it doesn't mean that I have to dump all my shit on you and just be like talking about all my bad experiences or what I'm going through all the time to everyone on the street, but just admitting that it is so tough, because I also don't manage to do that with certain people, but admitting that you feel lonely, admitting that you don't have the answers, admitting that you feel overwhelmed, that you need help, that things are not going well. And it doesn't have to be a competition of who had the worst things happening, but I feel that if we were more honest around what's going on and how we feel, and just have this little room of freedom just to admit it, I think we would just feel so much better, everyone collectively, because I feel that it could be a chance to really talk to your loved ones on a deeper level. And I feel that it's also such a weird thing, but the closer you are to people and the less you want to show those things because you don't want to worry them, or because maybe they don't know how to respond and it will hurt you to I don't know if they have responded the wrong way or whatever. But I feel that there is also really a chance there to grow together, and I just wish that we all had a little bit of that courage to just be, hey, it's freaking shitty and I don't need a solution and I don't need an answer, but can you just listen and can you just go through this with and just listen? And am I just allowed to say it's shitty what I'm going through right now? And
And not
yeah,
to be fixed in any way, or to,
yeah,
yeah,
and
that
just to be.
actually the ultimate, just to have somebody present. And actually that presence is just an opening, but also with that presence comes a skill. And it's for me, it's been a definite learning to how to be present with somebody, because I had to do that for several years when I was working in a retreat, and we were all very much taught to how to be present, how to be actively engaged in our listening, and and to also not to take on board what it is that people are sharing as well, to have that little
Mm-hmm,
bit of distance, to not need to fix everybody as well, because
mm-hmm,
that's the real challenge, is when you hear stuff that is, for me definitely, I've had to learn and grow with that. So when I hear stuff that I think, oh, I feel so much
mm,
love, compassion, right, what can I do to help? And it's like, no, just to sit and listen is all that anybody needs. And if somebody wants help, allow for them to ask for it.
yeah.
Mm,
So thank you for creating this space, and thank you for interviewing all those amazing women. I feel that, yeah, I I feel that the fact that we are allowed to share a little bit of our truth, um, I just have the feeling it makes the world a little bit better.
brilliant. Thank you. Well, thank you for being so open. Thank you for being so authentically you, and trusting in the process of just coming and being you, and being brave. There's bravery in vulnerability, isn't there? So I appreciate you turning up today, and I wish you well in or your pregnancy, but
Thank
also
you.
in your business as well. And I look forward to speaking to you soon.
Thank you,
And
Amanda.
thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for this interview. It was, as always, a pleasure to talk with you.
Perfect. Thank you for coming.